Good morning and welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. My name is Garen, if you don't know me yet, and hopefully you will soon. And the critter you can hear skittering around on the floor is the cat, Karma. She is having one of those moods, it seems. So, so today we're going to, this is kind of an addendum to the live discussion on conscious child raising and the fact that conscious children equal conscious adults, okay? And one of the big questions is how do you raise a consciously aware child in a society that's doing everything to keep them asleep? And this is a very real question. And what we do is we do that by always coming back to giving our child spaciousness, which is not a doing, it's a being. It's a place of stillness inside where you do not consider them a child anymore, but you see them for what they are. And that is a powerful spiritual being on par with you, equal to you in every way, here to have their human experience. And you have the responsibility and the joy of giving them the necessary tools to carry out that journey, without inflicting all of your particular beliefs and your particular desires for them. And listen to the word inflict, because it's truly what we do. We inflict upon our children our thoughts as to how they should be, our ideas about what they should believe. We take our practices and we take our beliefs, and most of our beliefs we haven't even really examined very closely to determine where they actually came from, and then we literally inflict it on them. That's why today we have so many adults who are still asleep, who are still lost in the same patterns that their parents were lost in and their grandparents were lost in. If we're going to move our society forward, if we're going to move our civilization forward and give ourselves the best opportunity to grow in conscious evolution, we have to begin with our children. And this is going to take a radical change at the school level as well, and that's going to be a totally different discussion. But for today, we're going to deal with the parent. Obviously, if you want to raise a conscious child, you yourself must have as the focus of your life conscious awakening. It is only an awakened parent who will realize that their child must be kept awake as they come into puberty. And that's the real trick. As the ego forms and begins to grow more and more, there's an opportunity throughout the entirety of the child's life, right up till they're about 15 at the maximum. By age of 15, that ego will be fully entrenched. And whatever their state of being is at 15, especially in the masculine, tends to carry on from there forward. Doesn't change much. Unless there is suffering to trigger growth, evolution. And of course, as parents, we don't really want our children to suffer, but we have to understand that suffering is indeed the motive force that drives us to seek more, to become more, to grow, to evolve. It is very important that when we deal with our children, that we make them aware and allow them to suffer the consequences of their decisions. Now, I'm not saying, of course, let them get into harm's way, but it is a necessary lesson for them to learn early on that their own choices and that they own their choices have reactions in the physical world. Parenting, of course, is a role like any other, and because it is a role, we run the risk of ego over-identifying with the role. Excuse me, all the hair on my head is itching me. This manifests in many forms, of course, and in truth, it has little to do with the child and everything to do with the parent. Our role as parents is to instill a baseline behavioral model that allows the child to interface with society, and then equip them with the necessary skills to engage in their own life. It does not mean instilling our beliefs and desires. From an evolutionary standpoint alone, this is it causes dysfunction and stagnation within the species. You know, and this is where we keep coming to as a civilization over and over and over again. Our societies keep coming to this stagnant point. Our children represent an evolving species, and anything we attempt to instill at them must have this at its core. We cannot take our current state of consciousness and try and feed that to them. We must instead show them, instill in them critical thinking skills. Instead of teaching them what history was as some sanitized version of reality, let's play out all sides of the story for them and ask them what would they do as the future of our world, as leaders, as decision makers. What would they choose to do different? In many ways, the role of teacher is far more suitable as a label and actually contains the space necessary within it in some ways. And perhaps it's better we think of ourselves as early teachers rather than parents, because of course they're not our children. We do not own them. As a teacher, we are able to teach our children to think for themselves, not by our thoughts. We must instill within them the ability to think at a level that matches their evolving consciousness, and we cannot find that at ours. We must accept that our children represent an evolution forward, and we must open ourselves to holding and lifting them up so that they can raise consciousness in themselves and thereby help raise the consciousness of the entire species. Getting them outside of the boxes we tend to put them in. Stop limiting that powerful spiritual being you see as small and tiny and unable to care for itself. Now, yes, of course, there are ways we have to care for our children. That is a given. But we must always be on guard that our caring and our protectiveness does not become dysfunctional, that we have not over-identified with the role. Ours is not to cookie cutter another one of us out into the world. Ours is to take part in a brand new, one-of-a-kind, unique physical journey of a shard of the Creator looking back on itself. This is the true meaning of raising a conscious child. This is the true meaning of being a true parent and a teacher. As an addendum to the talk we had on this, I hope this is helpful. And as always, much love and namaste. We will speak again.